So the John Locke website has a selection of past essays. And there's some very useful history ones. So for example, this question on the characteristics of social change is actually really quite relevant to what we're talking about as well. And you can see that she's done something similar and she's really tried to hone in and challenge the terms of the question as well. So for example, she started with an anecdote, she's looked at an example, a paradoxical example, and she's said that this raises a contrast. And in our case, a contrast between music as a social cultural phenomenon versus the course of history as something a lot more political is an interesting contrast. And she makes sure that your paragraphs aren't too long. And also, please remember that you don't need to cite historians. Well, you do need to cite historians, but you need them as endnotes, so they don't go at the bottom of the page. In order to do this, you can use a referencing style like Chicago. And if you're trying to save on workout, you don't need to use the full name like Daniel A. Novak. You can just say Novak. You don't need to say that it's a historian saying this. Just say Novak describes as a. And make sure that if you are referencing something else, what someone else has written, you need it to be referenced. You can't just take it for your own. In this context, it's not going to be so bad, but when you go to university, that can be quite serious. It constitutes famous. And I also think what this essay is really good at is always looking at the problems and the faults, really nitpicking the question type from the very beginning. So, for example, looking at the subjectivity of the definitions of success and failure. And a great way of saying this is I propose that using that kind of language is great for showing that you have an original take on how historians could approach this question. And this kind of almost philosophical point towards the end and saying will never be definitively successful. And this kind of strong language is really great to put in the conclusion.